And the animals can even be assigned to the defender roster. So you want a brown bear to be your defender, you can do that. Or an owl bear.
Giant scorpions.
Oh, giant scorpions. That's excellent.
Yep.
Owl bear.
Owl bears.
Let's get an owl bear. On the subject of base building, though, Alex, I'm on D&D Beyond, and I'm looking at just like what the newer Unearthed Arcana has been that came out. And the most recent round was for something called Bastions and Cantrips. Now, cantrips we're familiar with.
Yes.
We use them all the time. However, Bastions was something I was not familiar with at all. And I wanted to look into it, and it turns out that it kind of is a base building mechanic that they want to implement for D&D. Since we're here, let's talk a little bit about Bastions.
Sure. What are bastions?
All right, so here is the overview. A bastion is a location that belongs to a player character, a home, a stronghold, and a place of power that the character nurtures and develops over the course of the campaign. A bastion offers a character temporary refuge from a dangerous world of adventuring, and it provides opportunities for a character to craft magical items, conduct research, harvest poisons, build ships, and carry out a broad range of other activities. It's up to the DM to decide whether bastions are available in the campaign. Bastions are best suited to campaigns that allow characters to return to their bastions during intervals when they're not actively adventuring. There's no need to choose between going on adventures and commanding a bastion. A character can do both at once. A bastion has special facilities that generate in-game benefits, and these facilities can also undertake projects while the character is otherwise preoccupied. Bastions are intended to be havens for the character who own them, although random events might set a bastion from time to time. There are events I'll talk about in a minute. The bastion can be destroyed in only 2 ways. We'll talk about that too. Most importantly, a bastion is a creative playground for a player and a shared storytelling place in the campaign. DMs should be as permissive as possible with the stories players tell in their bastions, but players should know their control only goes as far as the campaign's larger story, which the DM strives to make fun for everyone. Okay, so that's the basic overview of what these are. Okay. In here, there's a little bit more information about that. You have hirelings and defenders for this. You can essentially hire defenders if you get attacked. And you can have hirelings that run different installations in the building as you build them. You get a bastion when you reach level 5.
Okay.
You can make some decisions on how it comes into being. So you can you receive a parcel of land, maybe you get a pre-existing structure and you have to refurbish it. You know, this is all narrative at this point. A wizard might build a tower. A cleric might want to establish a shrine. You get it. The bastion has turns, similar to how characters have turns, but these are more overarching ones. As time passes in the campaign, characters take bastion turns to reflect the activity occurring in their bastions, whether or not the characters are present. A bastion turn occurs every 7 days of in-game time.
Man, that means you're gonna have to keep track of days.
You're gonna have to keep track of days, though the DM can alter the frequency of bastion turns.
Every hour.
Yeah, every hour. On a bastion turn, a character can issue orders to the special facilities at their bastion, or issue the maintain order to the entire bastion. And the maintain order, just in case you're wondering, gives you essentially bastion points for each one of your facilities, which you can spend on stuff. There are a few different ways that you can do this. If you're on a mission and you want to just do maintenance, they'll just roll for bastion events and stuff like that. Which I'll get into in a minute. But in general, either whether you're there or whether you're away, the bastion will be doing things. Like it's an actual working base of operations. So I find that to be an interesting idea. So far,
Find it interesting that if the players are away, they'd be rolling for things with the Bastion.
Well, the GM is rolling for things.
Okay.
The GM is rolling for things. In fact, I'll go to the place where they actually explain that a little bit more in detail. In similar fashion to, like, you've DM'd before. Sometimes there will be tables, like wild magic tables or something, where you have to roll for certain events that the characters are not aware of.
Yeah.
There are Bastion events.
Yeah.
So you roll for them, and you have a D20.
Mm-hmm.
Your D20 basically suggests that there's a series of things that could happen. Like on a 1 to 9, nothing happens, really. On a 10, you can get attacked. And when you get attacked by a hostile force, and you roll 6d6. For each die that rolls a 1, one Bastion Defender dies. So you have certain numbers of Bastion Defenders. There's a menagerie where you can hire animals and have the animals be your defenders, etc. But for every one, you have a defender that dies. If you have not had contact with your Bastion, it can fall. You can give it up at any time if you wanted to, and your hirelings will be released, and it will be abandoned. But then it can also happen if a character issues no orders to their Bastion for a number of consecutive Bastion turns equal to their level. Typically because the character is dead or otherwise out of commission. The hirelings abandon the Bastion and the site is eventually looted, and the character returns later. They have the option to start it again, a new Bastion, perhaps building it amid the ruins of the old one.
Yeah, so here's the thing that I find weird about that, is if I'm away, how am I issuing orders to a Bastion?
Well, you would have the ability to do something like, say, we're doing maintenance or something before you leave. Right, like when you are there, you can set up some stuff for the different places that you're there. Like, for instance, your special facilities, you can issue orders. Your arcane study allows you to craft certain things. Your armory is like a trade post, so it can generate money and stuff like that. And you could tell them to do that, and then there are time frames for them to complete those missions. Which, maintenance is an easy one, where each time you issue the maintain order, the character who issued it gains 1d4 Bastion points for each special facility in the Bastion, and you roll for the event table as well. You can do recruitment, you can do research. Some of these facilities will allow you to literally just do research or crafting for unique items. You have guild halls that you can set up, which literally means that if you're a thief and you want to create a thieves guild, you can do that. You can assign thieves to infiltrate a location within 50 miles of your Bastion and steal a non-magical item from it. The object can be no bigger than a 5-foot cube and is delivered to your Bastion in 1d6 plus 1 days. So that would be like an order. A white key is left in its place. The DM may decide that this activity leaves you at risk of retaliation from law enforcement or the victim. Yes, I would think that would indeed be something you have to be concerned about.
I'm actually less interested about the Bastion events.
Okay.
Because those are just like random encounters.
Sure. Okay, so what are you interested in?
I'm more interested in, like, what they're good for.
What are they good for? Certainly. Yeah. Well, I think that's... Yeah. That's where
there's 23 pages in this PDF. And events are, like, the least interesting part to me.
Certainly. So I think that if we were talking about that, it would be the special facilities that you can build.
Because it lists, like, basic features: bedroom, courtyard, dining room, kitchen, parlor, storage, washroom.
Certainly.
Basic features like adding space to make it cramped, roomy, fast. You've got the ability to enlarge your facilities. And then you've got your special facilities.
Sure.
And these are, I think, what makes the Bastion actually interesting.
Yeah, one of the fun ones that I liked, if you look at Menagerie, it's a level 13 Bastion facility. In order to recruit, you need 1d8 Bastion points. You commission the facility's hirelings to add a creature from the Menagerie creatures to your Menagerie. So basically, you're creating a stable of just animals, and the animals can even be assigned to the Defender roster. So you want a brown bear to be your Defender, you can do that, or an owl bear.
Giant scorpions.
Oh, giant scorpions! That's excellent.
Yep.
Owl bear.
Bears.
Let's get an owl bear. It's fun to have menagerie creatures. You could have them out there. Pubs. The pub has a magical beverage on tap. Chosen from
my favorite type of pub.
You have literally ones that have special effects. Big Vig's Burden. Drinking this beverage grants you the enlarge effect of enlarged reduce spell that has a duration of 24 hours. So, hey, just get a drink that can make you big. Or spider climb. There's the Kiss of the Spider Queen. We'll give you spider climb. There are ones that will give you magical items. There is ways in like scriptoriums where you can do book replicas or craft scrolls. You can cast Healing Word in Sanctuary so that you can heal yourself from missions. There's abilities to, at a smithy, craft ammunition or simple weapons, armor, martial weapons. The stables that come with a riding horse and 2 ponies. Or mules, if you would care. A lot of functionality that you can take outside of your bastion, I think, is what you get into with these facilities. There's also a theater that you can build, and the theater contains a stage and a back room area. I'm thinking for bards, this is what makes sense. You can contribute to a production as either the composer, writer, conductor, director, or the performer. And at the end of a rehearsal period, each character who contributes to the concert or production can make a DC 15 charisma check. If more of these checks succeed than fail, you and any other character who contributed to the concert or production gain a theater die, which is a D6. And this die increases to D8 at 13, etc. At any point after the rehearsal end, a character can expend their theater die to roll it and add the number rolled to one ability check, attack roll, or saving throw they make. It's sort of like a bardic inspiration.
Yeah.
So like that.
As I'm looking through this, because I was looking at the PDF too.
Yes.
I feel like the Bastion would serve a really good as a point in a story. Like a stronghold for the party and not just individual. Like they're given to players, it says PCs, you know.
It is. It does say that.
But I would almost go with the party gets a bastion.
Yes.
And you can all decide what you do with it individually.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can either like divide it into wings that each of you has a part of, but like this is all of yours.
Mm-hmm.
And pool it. I would pool it. Even though, like, maybe the bastion points, each player gets to spend them individually. I would say have each player then have their own bastion points stockpiled, and they can't combine them, perhaps, because then they can use them for what they want instead of pooling that together. But imagine having the game start in a bastion.
Yeah.
Like, they're level 1, but they're here, so maybe it gets destroyed by the time they're level 5. And it's like, cool, this was destroyed, but you guys have survived, and you can choose to rebuild it how you want.
Sure.
Like, you're the surviving members that are, like, you have the inheritance to this place or whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
Or maybe the local king granted you that after it was burned down, and you tracked down the arsonist or whatever. It doesn't matter what the story thread is, but I think it would make a good base of operations for players.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, like, it's a really interesting. I don't know that the mechanics of it are enticing enough on their own for players to really go, I want that. Because it seems tedious. Again, with the base building we were talking about before, parts of this seem rather tedious.
Okay. Yeah, I can understand that. I think that maybe the basic uses of your bastion points and just your accumulation therein might make sense, because you can spend bastion points on, like, acquiring magical items. You know, I could get a legendary item if I spend 700 bastion points. I can spend 10 bastion points to ensure word of my heroic deeds spread throughout the region. So for 7 days, I get advantage on charisma checks within 50 miles.
I think some of the features are really cool, and the things you can do with it are really cool. But the tedium, that's the issue with me, for me, is that, hey, so you've got this thing, you need to learn all the mechanics in the game beyond what you've already had to learn to play the basic game. This is more for you to learn, and some players don't want to learn more. They just want to go on an adventure.
That's true. This is more for the homesteading aspect, if people want to play that way. Also interesting is that they say a character can spend 100 bastion points if you die to return to life in your bastion at the next dawn. And you can do that only until you gain another level. But the thing about it is that I can see the functionality of all those things. I understand why they probably wanted to do this, because people like the idea of being able to build something, you know.
I do. I think it's cool, but I also think that it's a 23-page PDF.
Sure.
Well, I think it's a little less because the, the fact that some of them are cantrips. But at the 20-page PDF on this, these are all the rules and things you can do with a Bastion.
Sure.
On top of, say, me learning all the different ways that I can play the ranger I'm playing, for instance.
Sure.
So it's a lot to learn and figure out and do, especially up front.
Yeah.
It's a lot of decision making, and that means taking a session essentially to set up a bastion.
Yeah, and I mean, that might be one of the reasons why they said it shouldn't really be set up till level 5, because you'd want people to be familiar with your system as it stands. I am also, though, there was a little caveat that I saw here under the spending bastion points that I thought was very interesting, that alludes to something a little bit larger, which is that characters who have reached level 20 can use bastion points to acquire a magic item each time they earn a bonus feat, which is every 30,000 XP above 355,000 XP. Yeah. And my thought process there is, so are we saying that you basically can keep gaining bonus feats after level 20? It sounds like it. Which is interesting too. Kind of nice, because it means your character never really stops growing. But I like the idea of being able to do this for, like, larger projects, but I wouldn't want to spend too much time on it. Where we're setting, like, I could understand, like, you spend, like, a session where you're actually setting up the bastion. Me personally, I'd want to do it, like, as maybe like that pub, like that tavern that's in town as your bastion, or as a tower, or like as almost a thieves guild or something in the Undercity or something like that. Set that up, get used to, like, your hirelings, give them, and the defenders, give them some personality, give them names and everything like that, establish that, but then not have to think all that much about it until you have, like, the downtime sessions between your quest logs, where you're going back, and at that point I want it to mostly be about the narrative part, about, like, the actual doing of stuff while you're in town. Like, oh, we got a letter from a valuable patron, and they want to meet you at this place, and so then you're off to do that. And maybe just spend, like, I don't know, like half an hour or to an hour, where the crew just decides, like, well, do you want to build anything? Do you have any interest in building any of the special facilities? Do you want to spend any of your bastion points? Just real quick, like, anything you want to do there, or anyone you want to talk to. you know.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Depending like how long you spend, like if you're traveling, for instance, if you're doing overland travel, maybe you're doing it for like a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Maybe you're on a boat for a month. You know,
I'm on a boat.
Yeah, I'm on a boat, but maybe you're on a boat for a month. So that's several Bastion events that would have happened and a lot of stuff going on. And it's like, do you really want to bog down the players with a half hour to an hour, even if it's just that? To be like, let's go over Bastion stuff. Some people, especially more casual players, might see this just as homework.
That's true. That's true. One thing that they could do is so we have the Bastion events that are on like a D20 scale, and you're supposed to do them like every 7 days. Something you could do as a DM is roll for it and then keep track of that just like off to the side about the stuff that's been happening at the Bastion while they're away. And then when they come back, they get informed of what's happened with the Bastion while they were away.
And you could definitely do something like that if you figured out how to make it work right.
Yeah, I mean, it would just be a matter of like, oh, okay, they've been traveling for 7 days, roll my D20, just like off to the side. Well, they're not, they're just doing their own thing. Oh, I got a 17, an honored guest came by, so I, can figure out who that was in general, and did they leave any money? Did they like the thing, or whatever? And then just kind of like when they get back to the Bastion, the people that are running the show, their hirelings, say, "Oh yeah, we had somebody come by, and here's some money."
I almost feel like I would want to set this up the way I was going to run that Deathwatch campaign. Would be the RPG is like playing doing the adventuring stuff is what we do at the table, and then like outside of the game, it could be like, hey, here's what's going on with Bastions. You can do it like once a week. Just keep up on it, like in a Discord forum. Mm-hmm. If you only game once every 2 weeks, like we were doing, I don't think you and Crave would have wanted to sit down and do Bastion stuff.
No. And if you were going to do stuff in the field, you need to have the logistics of it. You got to get word to the players that you're doing that. And so you got to have like ravens or owls or something that are going to be, or sending stones, something in order to get word back.
Ultimately, I feel like it's a cool concept, but again, it seems more homeworky and tedious than beneficial.
Sure.
Because it's a 20-page PDF.
Exactly.
That's a lot of rules and a lot of mechanics to try and get, especially like casual players, to want to engage with.
Yeah, it's going to be a little tricky for accessibility, and it's interesting because One D&D that they're setting up for is supposed to be more in the vein of accessibility for newcomers. And,
sure.
And I think that this is a lot to take in. But again, it is also completely optional. You don't have to use these in the same way that I don't have to use a lot of the mechanics that D&D has.
Like, this would be fine if it were translated into a video game.
Yes.
Because it would keep track of all that stuff on the other side and be like, here's a quick thing. But having all these mechanics and features and stuff that a player would either need to keep track of, or just like you'd have to go back and reference it every time you wanted to do something.
Mm-hmm.
It can be a lot.
Wait until they have a Bastion update for Baldur's Gate 3.
I would love that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Give me a ship.
We'll get a theater in there for Astarion. He'll love it.
So if anyone's still listening, and you've checked out this One D&D PDF about Bastions, let us know your thoughts. I think it's going to be a bit tedious and cumbersome. Ultimately, it's a cool idea that won't be executed as well as it could be because of 20 pages of rules.
My opinion on it is that this amount of detail makes sense for like maybe a DM's guide, but I would need something very pared down to like just a page or two for something on the player's end of it, so that they understood it in more basic details. I imagine that since this is just like play material, they're going to be paring this down before the end.
Maybe?
It might get a lot longer, too. It's very possible. I think it makes sense if you're the person running the game, that you'd want all of this detail, but we would need to see a very pared down one, I think, for the player manual would be helpful.
Yeah.
They don't really need to know all the details.